So we read this story and certainly got extraordinary teachings from our Gadolei HaDor, from just the previous generation. We're now talking about, 3,000 years ago. We're talking about grandparents' age. And certainly one of the greatest stories that a person could hear and apply to their life. At the time of when Rav Shmuel Wosner was still a young man, a Gadol Torah, giant, was a favored in the eyes of the Chazon Ish, who worked hard in his beautiful, holy way to make sure that Rav Wosner became a Gadol Torah in the eyes of the public. By standing up for him, even though he was much older than him, but standing up for him and telling him, you can't walk alone. I have to go with you, because someone that's a Gadol HaDor cannot walk by himself. Just imagine the Chazon Ish is walking next to Rav Wosner. Why? Because he's a Gadol Torah. Needless to say, what is the Chazon Ish? Anyway, when the Rav Shmuel Wosner, alav shalom, was still younger, and at the time, there was an extraordinary poverty. Today, poverty to most people is they can't get themselves a second car, or they can't go on the Pesach vacation that they want to go to. That's sometimes poverty to some people. In other cases, poverty is missing, not having the ability to pay your rent on time. But from this story, we certainly, my kids and I, and wife were shocked at true poverty being detailed in just a simple word. At the time, it was Pesach, and the poverty was so bad that Rav Yechezkel Levenstein, alav shalom, was only able to afford one chicken for the entire Chag for his whole family for 7 days. Okay, one chicken. We're not talking about one chicken per person, one chicken per day. We're talking about the entire holiday. All they have to eat is one chicken. Today, you make a lunch order with and quickly you have 5-10 chicken sandwiches for you and your friends and your family. That in itself is already more than what they ate the entire holiday. But here, one of the Gadolei Torah, Rav Levenstein, only has one chicken to eat for the entire holiday. But in those days, the chickens didn't come like they do here in the States and in most of the world, where there's kosher markets where it's all prepared and cut and beautiful. They literally had the chicken, slaughtered, and the wives typically had to take out the feathers and then rip it up and then make sure to check the chicken to see that it's kosher. And as soon as the tzadikah, the Rabbanit Levenstein, opened up the chicken, she saw that there's a she'ela, there's a questionable issue here with this chicken. Now, of course, this also shows you of the level of knowledge of the tzadikot of the previous generation, where they were able to literally investigate the lungs and the different body parts of the chickens and the different animals they would eat in order to determine if they're kosher or not, and had the level of yirat shamayim that if they knew that there's a question, they wouldn't eat it. Now, what about the fact when you only have one chicken for the whole family for an entire holiday because the poverty is running rampant? A question is a question, and therefore it must be answered, or else we're not going to eat anything. So, of course, she brings it to her husband, Rav Yechezkel Levenstein. He's the Gadol HaDor. She gives it to her husband. Her husband looks into it and he says, "This is a very complicated question, and I rather send it to Rav Shmuel Wosner." And he gives it to his Talmid, "Go bring this chicken to Rav Shmuel Wosner and have him paskin whether this chicken is kosher or not." So the Talmid brings the chicken over to Rav Wosner. Rav Wosner quickly looks at it and sees the complication. And he says to the Talmid, "Tell Rav Levenstein that for an average person, this chicken is kosher. But for an Adam Gadol, a giant person like yourself, holy person like yourself, you should not be eating it." And he gives him the chicken back. So the Talmid runs back, gives the chicken to Rav Levenstein, and tells him exactly word for word what Rav Wosner said. And to the Talmid's surprise, Rav Levenstein is unhappy with the answer. Not because of the psak, but how he arrived at the psak. And he asked the Talmid, "Go back to Rav Wosner and with the chicken and ask him how do you know that I am an Adam Gadol? That I'm, big in the Torah, I'm a big chacham. How do you know such a things? Because I know that, I'm nothing. I'm dust and ashes. But maybe you know more about what I know in the Torah that I don't know, so perhaps you can tell me how you think I'm Adam Gadol. Now, of course, the Talmid who knows his rabbi is the Gadolei HaDor is confused, like, for the Rav, why? He's going to ask, why? He says, because my kids are hungry, and I too am obligated to eat meat on the holiday. So if he determined that I'm an Adam Gadol, because people say I'm an Adam Gadol, then that's nothing. People say a lot of things. We don't have to listen to such a thing, and therefore we can eat the chicken. But if he has some proof that I'm really an Adam Gadol, which I don't know where he would find it because I'm a nothing, then I can't eat the chicken. Of course, the bewildered Talmid runs to Rav Wosner and tells him exactly word for word what his Rebbe told him. And as soon as Rav Wosner hears this, tears fill his eyes at the humility of Rav Levenstein. How this giant literally believes that he's zero, that he's dust and ashes. And he takes the chicken and he throws it in the garbage. And he says to the Talmid, just wait 1 second. He goes to his refrigerator and digging around a little bit. He grabs a chicken and he gives it to the Talmid, and he says to the Talmid, tell Rav Levenstein that on second thought, he's right, the chicken is kosher. The chicken is kosher, I retracted my psak, the chicken is kosher, he can eat it, no problem. He didn't tell him he changed it. He told him, here's the chicken, he can eat this. Because he knew that this giant is not going to accept this free chicken. And then what do you have? At the same token, you can't tell this Gadolei HaDor he's not an Adam Gadol. What do? Tell him, I retracted. The chicken, this chicken is kosher. In essence, he's not lying because this chicken is kosher. The Talmid runs back to Rav Levenstein, and Rav Levenstein is happy, and Rav Wosner is happy. But the two are happy about two completely different things. Rav Wosner is happy that he was able to do Chesed to one of the giants of the generation. And Rav Levenstein is happy that Rav Wosner paskind that he is not an Adam Gadol. When you have giants in Torah realize that they are nothing, yet they know more than, literally in a day's lesson, what we would know in a lifetime, it behooves us to learn their Torah, to learn what these Chachamim learned, and to follow in their footsteps.